So you will have access to the recording, you know, from after this, but there's a free gift for those who stay here live and stay till the end. So if you want to get that free gift, stay to the end, stick with me to the end. Please keep your video on for the whole time. I would really appreciate that. I mean, if you have to go to the bathroom or whatever, turn it off for a second, but seeing each other's faces and me being able to see your face will help me serve you better and help you grow faster within this time. This will be interactive. I will ask you questions. I will use technology to keep this conversational because that's part of what makes virtual speaking engaging and make it better. As you have questions that come up organically throughout the presentation, please feel free to ask those questions in the chat box. And then after each section, I'll pause and I'll answer all those questions. All right, so let's move into our first section, really understanding the challenges that come up around virtual speaking. I'm going to share the results now of that initial poll that I put out of what are your biggest challenges with virtual speaking. It was nerves, public speaking fear. A lot of you said that, actually, almost half. Technology was a little less. Audience engagement was a lot. And then coming across as authority. So actually a lot of these things, right? Maybe you guys chose multiple ones, but that audience engagement piece is a big one. I hear you on that. So we're gonna get to all those things today. What I find is that now that everyone's on video all day long, one thing that's happening is we're getting a little casual about being on video and being seen. Or maybe you just turn your video off and you're just like, let's just get through this. Your audience, and maybe you, have a lot of things distracting them and competing for their attention. And let's face it, in our modern world, we have really short attention spans. Your public speaking fears are coming up in general, and we're dealing with technology, right? Just like trying to figure out all this tech stuff while we're having to think and speak and stay present. Public speaking and having confidence with speaking in general is hard enough, but then bring in all these other elements and it's extra challenging. And I think this is often happening because, you know, it's still public speaking. We think that maybe I've actually read articles that public speaking is dead, but it's not. This is still public speaking even when I'm in my home, in my slippers with you on a screen, you know? It's still public speaking and we have to approach it that way. Speakers tend to, this is a general thing with the clients that I work with, you know, I've worked with hundreds of clients around their confidence and companies as well in the Bay Area, like Oracle or LinkedIn or these big companies, and it's always the same thing. Speakers struggle to trust themselves to flow and improvise and speak authentically, naturally from their expertise. So that's coming up on video just as much as anywhere else, but it can be more and more difficult to be credible on video because there's all these things where we're in our homes, we might be in our pajamas, where our attention is low, we've been on Zoom all day, we're getting tired, etc. And the same things are at stake, right? The same things like you were in a real life situation are still at stake in a virtual situation. I'm going to put a question in the chat box now that I'd like you to post some answers about. What's at stake for you when you speak? When you get to a conference or webinar or host a meeting, what's at stake for you? What's the real stuff that's causing that anxiety or that fear that you really want to work out well? You really want to do a good job for, the pressure that you feel. What's at stake for you? I see a bunch of people typing, so that stuff's coming in. Reputation, thank you, Carolina. Yeah, what people think of you. Gosh, we can get so up in our head about that. Kelsey says she wants to sound smart and interesting, and she wants to look good. Yeah, when we're seeing ourselves on video, that's a big thing. How do we look? Follow-up opportunities, yeah, that continuing relationship, personal brand connected to reputation, right? Disease and authority, being liked, that's always a nice thing. It's coming in so fast, I can't pick it up. Give people what they need. Yeah, really providing value, being of service. Whether or not I get clients, have income, voice, and how I sound, the other, that self-consciousness. Considered an expert. Gosh, there's so much good stuff here. Thank you so much for sharing all this. Making it worth people's time. Yeah, there's so many other places we could be. Awesome. Thank you for sharing that. Those things are so real when the camera turns on. And it's even more intense. We only have this time, or if this recording, I have to fit it all in. Yeah, seeming like a credible professional. And most of the people that I connect with, especially in these initial kind of meetings, they haven't had a lot of training around public speaking necessarily, or specifically training around how that translates into video. So let's go into the 7 tools to help you project confidence on video. And I'm going to send something to you right now in the chat box. That's a blog entry on my website. I'm going to send this to everybody in the meeting. Okay, but I want you all to open up that page, please, so that you have it up. It's going to guide you through what we're going to talk about today. The 7 tools. The first one, never give a presentation that you wouldn't want to sit through. Has anybody ever heard that before? It's a general, like, basic public speaking adage. Never give a presentation you personally wouldn't want to sit through. Yet so often we do. We give the presentations that end up being boring or information heavy or, you know, tuned out and flat. So this is a really big and important foundational mindset shift around public speaking. Don't give a presentation you wouldn't want to sit through. If you wouldn't want to sit through somebody sitting like this and sort of like mumbling through and looking at their slides the whole time, or there's so many different things that happen with video. Sometimes we're like, you know, cut off. You know, if you wouldn't want to sit through that, then make sure that that doesn't happen. It's easier said than done, but it's a mindset shift and an attitude towards our presentations in general, that we take responsibility, rise to the occasion, and take the lead around giving our best presentation. I keep having people coming back in and out of the chat room there. Okay, so give me a thumbs up from the beginning of this presentation. And, you know, in the bottom of your Zoom, there's the reactions thing that you can give me a thumbs up or a clap for anything. Zoom has changed so that links are no longer active. Okay, that's fine. You can copy and paste it. So down in the reactions, give me a thumbs up if you are all in to never again in your whole life give a presentation you wouldn't want to sit through. A thumbs up. Yeah, oh, great. I see them. And some people are giving me their body thumbs up too. That works as well. Awesome. So that is the foundation. Now we can actually learn the techniques that will make that difference. The second tool to be confident and charismatic on camera is to understand and train in the fact that your body speaks louder than your words. Have you heard that before? This comes from a study that was done in the 1970s, and it's been redone many times since then to see if it's really true. Because it was pretty amazing what came out of this. They wanted to see what makes an excellent public speaker as objectively as possible. This study was called the Dr. Fox study. So what they did was they brought in this big audience and 2 different speakers. Our first speaker is a doctor, PhDs, years and years of experience, you know, really expert in his topic, and he gives a talk on what he's an expert in. But our second speaker is an actor that they hired to read an article from our real doctor just a few days before the presentation and give a presentation on what he knew. What do you think was the difference between our 2 speakers? Our first speaker was, you know, flat and monotone, was reading from a script behind a podium. Our second speaker, the actor, was walking around, connecting with the audience. There was variation and energy. After this presentation, the audience was given a survey. Well, who did you like better? Who do you think was more knowledgeable? Who did you trust? These kind of questions. And what was it about that speaker that led you to that conclusion? Now, first of all, who do you think they thought was more knowledgeable and trustworthy and better as a speaker? The real doctor or the actor?
Actor.
Everybody's putting in the, yeah. The actor overwhelmingly. And the statistic that went with this is that 93% of what the audience was responding to was the nonverbal communication. Just 7% was the words. That's huge, right? 93%. So how many of you have spend 93% of your time preparing your presentation with nonverbal communication? Or do you spend 93% of your time preparing the content?
Yep, content.
Yeah, it's pretty common. We need to have a mindset shift about this, that your body actually speaks louder than your words. Now, when I said 93% nonverbal communication, they break that down into about 55% body language and about 38% voice, the sound that people hear. Let's go over some of the physical tips, some really basic things for virtual speaking that are going to make a shift with how you show up right away. So everybody watch my body for a moment. Make sure you can see me. And I'm actually going to make sure that I can see me. There we go. So how I've set myself up in the frame of the camera is that you can see me from my navel, more or less, to my head. Take a look at where most people are set up right now as attendees of this webinar. Most people are more from like their chest to their head, right? It's the common thing on video. There's so much less information that your audience gets about you from here to here versus from navel to head. It's such a small change that you can make right now. So if possible, with the angle of your computer, the alignment of your chair or whatever, make a shift so that we can see you from your navel to your head. Awesome. Everybody's becoming speakers right now. It's like, oh my gosh, somebody's about to say something really important. I can tell. And now that we can see you, then there's so much information we can give through our hands, through the movement of our body. There's so much more information that you can give. And this might take some finagling with your setup later, but the principle stands. So once you have this alignment of your body, then we get to be aware of this area and how it's communicating. Virtually, the biggest thing that I see is things around posture. Now, if you're really far forward at a table, people tend to collapse, you know? My arms are on the table and I collapse, and notice immediately what happens to my voice too. It gets really sort of raspy and low energy. If I can lift my posture up, so I'll do this with me now. If you lift your spine up, find more energy in your spine, and everybody give a tap to your chest right here in the front. Have your chest a little brighter, a little more forward. Look around at each other. I already see you've become speakers, right? Let's go. There's a bunch of leaders in the room versus people listening to my presentation. That's pretty awesome. Also be aware of how much you're leaning towards the camera, yeah? If you're leaning way forward, what impression does that give? Even if I'm, up off the table and I'm just leaning forward versus being in center versus, being back. So we're going for center here, yeah? Right up and down, straight up and down. Same thing goes for your head. This is a big one. It's really common for a head to end up being in a bunch of other positions other than just facing our audience head on. I learned a lot of these things from watching myself in film acting classes back in theater school. I went to a great college that had a fantastic film acting program as well as a stage acting program. And I remember watching myself after doing scenes on film, all the little facial expressions, all the tiny little shifts of weight and movements of my hands came across huge on film. So be even more aware of this tip than you would on stage. Even though it's very important on stage too, it's like way more important on video. So that's our first thing to be really aware of, is that your body's speaking louder than your words. First of all, let your body be seen, and then be really aware of these tiny little cues that you're giving. Your body's aligned, that your face is aligned, and that you're using your gestures to communicate clearly. If we build on that, the next tip is around your voice, which according to the study that I said earlier is 38% of what people are responding to. Your voice sometimes actually speaks louder than your body, at least virtually and on video, because sometimes people aren't looking at you. They might be driving, right? Or they have another screen up or something. And then your voice becomes the main source of nonverbal communication, of meaning that is underneath your words. And there's 3 ways I want to highlight really quickly that affect your voice with these virtual communications. The first one is called uplilting. I don't know if you've ever heard of this word. Sometimes it's called upspeak, right? Where our tone goes up at the end of a sentence. I'm going to give you a sentence. I'm putting it into the chat box right now. Let's see. I have something to say is your sentence. To yourself, you don't have to turn your audio on or anything. I just want you to be aware of your own voice. You're going to say this sentence, I have something to say, out loud with uplilting at the end. I have something to say. Yeah, the tone goes up at the end. Ready, set, try it.
I have something to say.
Yeah, good. And so what does that communicate non-verbally to your audience?
And I don't know what I'm saying.
You might have something to say, but you might not be sure about it, right? There's a lack of certainty that comes through with this use of pitch. Now we're going to try it with down gliding, that your pitch goes down at the end of the sentence. I have something to say, goes down. Ready, set, try down gliding.
I have something to say.
I have something to say.
Very good. It's good to hear a few voices doing that too. Very simple little adjustment that just takes some awareness and some training to help you sound more certain right away. Another thing that we do with our voices that projects lack of certainty, low confidence, is such a common one. It's fillers, right? Fillers. What are you, write in the chat box some of your most common fillers. What are your favorite fillers? Yeah, you can say them out loud too. Ah, Lisa says.
Like, you know.
You know, that's a good one.
Like.
I think. Perhaps is a good one even.
Actually.
Actually, yeah, basically, actually, these are all great examples. Yeah, these are fillers. These are things that take up space but really don't communicate any value, right? And they demonstrate your lack of confidence, and they show us what's happening in your inner confidence, where we really want to see on the outside your outer confidence. Let me take a detour here to explore that just a little bit more. There's always these 2 sides of confidence when it comes to performance and communication. There's what's happening on the inside of you, how you see and perceive yourself, how you judge yourself and are your worst critic. But that's not the whole picture, because you could think you're doing really bad, and if on the outside people say you're doing great, you look really confident, right? There can be an incongruency. So the outer confidence is how other people perceive you from the outside, from your body language, from the sound of your voice. And it's really impossible for you to know how other people experience you unless you're open and willing to receive honest feedback. So we're going to break up into some breakout groups now. I'm going to put you in some breakout rooms of just 2 people, you and another person. And all you're going to do when you get in there, you can say hi, I'd say like little highs, but then all you're going to do is turn off your cameras and give an introduction of yourself to your partner. Make sense? You're going to just say, hi, my name is Julia, and I'm the founder of Speak to Inspire training programs, right? You're going to say a simple introduction of yourself, but without your camera on, just with your voice. And then the other person will go, and then you can turn your cameras back on if you want to give each other feedback on these 3 things, uplilting and fillers. Oh, and I forgot the third thing. The third thing is around tone, that we don't go into a raspy tone, that I don't go down into my throat, right? And I become raspy, which also doesn't project a lot of confidence or certainty, right? So those are the 3 things, uplilting, fillers, and tone you're gonna give your partner feedback on. All right, I'm gonna put you into breakout groups right now.
Enter your participant ID followed by pound.
And we hear something happening over there. Let's see, let's do.
Can I ask a question while you're organizing that?
I'm about right now, and you're welcome to write a question in the chat box. And you can look what's happening. Kelsey, to answer the question, it's just going to be, you know, like 2 sentences. Really, really simple. Now, ready, set, go into your breakout groups.
My name is Jean Jung, and I'm happy to meet you.
I thought you were going to assign us somebody.
It's going somewhere.
Hi, Linda. This is Jean. I think I'm in breakout room 4.
Hi.
What's your name? Luis? I don't know. Can you hear me? Okay. Sure. This is Jean Jung. And yeah, I'm really glad that I found out about this meeting. What's your name?
I see. Yes, I'm with and I'm living in Toronto, Canada, and I'm happy to find this meeting.
Great. Turn off my camera. I'm not sure how to do that.
Hey, Elise, are you here?
Can you hear me now? Can you hear me?
Is that Elise?
Oh, can you put me in with Antoinette? I can't hear, and we can't hear each other because I had to call in for voice.
Ah, interesting.
I know. I don't know what's happening.
Who's your person?
Antoinette plus CDace is who I'm with right now.
Okay. Hold on. I'm working on that. Okay, there you go. All right, we're all coming back from our breakout rooms. What was that like? You can speak it out loud, or like raise your hand and speak it out loud, or write it in the chat box. What was that like? What did you learn?
Lots of fillers for me.
Fillers. Got a vocabulary of fillers.
Yeah, what a vocabulary.
Yeah. Make sure to turn your video back on as you come back into the main session. What did you guys learn about your voice?
I'm just aware of I have a kind of a monotone voice.
Okay, good awareness. Tone, right? Got a
Somebody is making a sound that's very irritating.
That was Jen on her phone. Great. Anybody else want to share what that was like for you? You can write it in the chat box, or you're welcome to speak it.
Ow, this really hurts.
Okay, I hope
I
you
felt good about my presentation and the feedback was good. So that was
Sheila.
a very good experience.
Oh.
Okay, could everybody please mute themselves so we have that sound going? Okay, great. I hope you learned something about your voice and were aware. Whoever has that echo. I don't think it's me.
It's usually someone who's called in and there's the computer and the phone in the same room. So it's like reverberating.
That was
So if
me. Sorry.
If you've muted your computer, make sure you also mute the phone.
Thank you. Okay, great. So now that we've talked about our body and our voice and we're all in to make it the best experience, let's talk about technology and how technology can be your friend or it can be a total enemy, right? Gosh, I don't think I've gotten through almost any Zoom call without there being an internet problem, an audio problem, or something like we just experienced, right? I'm going to put a question into the chat box that is going to help us crowdsource this technology thing. What platforms do you like for virtual speaking? Zoom, WebEx, Facebook Live, YouTube, and why? Type that in as we talk about it. So my recommendation around technology, and this will apply to all the things that I'm going to talk about next, is to keep it really simple for you. And that's going to mean something different to each of you. If Zoom is totally new for you, then you probably just use video and that's it, right? You might not experiment with all the different tools that are in Zoom. We're getting lots of great things in here. Facebook, Zoom, yeah, YouTube. Google Hangouts is great. Facebook Live is really easy. Yeah, okay, great. So there, you guys can look at all that in the chat box. But here's the thing, if you try to stretch your limit on the platforms or tools that you're trying to use with technology, it's going to throw off your confidence as a speaker. And there's no way around it. Your presence, your body, your voice is what an audience is responding to more than anything. No matter if there's a perfect backdrop and perfect lighting and perfect audio, it's always you and your knowledge, your expertise, and your voice that is coming across. So how can we make the technology easy and serve your message and serve your presence? Of course, it's important to prepare your content ahead of time, prepare your body and your voice ahead of time, and speaker warm-up routines, which is what I'll get into later about the course that I'm going to be talking to you about. And also prepare your technology. Maybe you need to train a little bit in Zoom and do some videos and some practice sessions. I did a little practice session earlier to make sure I understood everything. But make it as simple as you can. You can get so complicated with Slack rooms and different split screens and engagement techniques. Approach technology from a place that's going to make you feel confident. And there's some good things in the chat box that are coming out of ideas for technology stuff. Great. Well, let's move on from there. It's if the technology is your friend, then it's working. We're there with people. How are we going to keep them from getting distracted? This was the main challenge that you guys mentioned at the beginning. My audience is not engaged. They're looking at Facebook. They're doing emails and text messages, right? How do we keep our audience engaged, and how do we become the most interesting thing in their room? There's two pieces of this, and the first thing is about you as the speaker. My recommendation is that you need to be higher energy than your audience. Specifically 5 to 10% higher energy than your audience, which is not that much, right? Just 5 to 10% higher, but it's enough to set you apart and become the most interesting, shiny thing in the room. This translates to your audience as passion, as enthusiasm, as urgency, that what I have to say is really important. I'm going to give you 3 examples of an introduction to a presentation, sort of like this, like a workshop. And I want you to, with your own fingers, give me a thumbs up if you think that, I'm sorry, I was just checking what Lisa said, that's cute. So give me a thumbs up if you think my energy is higher than yours, or lower than yours is a thumbs down. Get it? So I'm going to give you an introduction and you tell me if my energy is higher than yours or lower than yours. First version of the presentation. Hi guys, my name is Julia. Welcome to the webinar. Okay, you can already get it, right? You get it within like 3 seconds. Okay, version number 2. Hi everybody, welcome to the webinar. It's going to be really fun tonight. We're going to learn a lot of new things and I hope you really enjoy it. Okay, it was still lower and some people were actually going sort of like this with their hand. Yes, what I was aiming for with that one, sometimes it's hard to do virtually, is aim to be the same energy as you, which builds rapport between us. We might feel like friends, but I'm not going to be necessarily the leader in the room. All right, last version. Tell me higher or lower for this. Hey guys, welcome to the webinar. Okay, you get it, right? We had to go there. It was way too high. That's why I say just 5 to 10% higher. Can you tell that now I am 5 to 10% higher energy than you? That means you're higher energy than your everyday life. And this is going to keep you from getting into that casualness of virtual meetings, that stagnation of being in front of your computer all day. So what are you going to do to raise your energy as a speaker? Well, first of all, before you get onto that meeting or that presentation, you've got to shake yourself up, do something physical, jump, dance, shake out, you know, anything, run around the block, do something to get your energy up that's physical, because it's your body and your voice that's communicating your message. And do something during the call that's a little bigger, that 5 to 10% bigger than everyday life. In everyday life, I might be sort of talking like this, right? But when I'm a speaker, I talk like this, and it's just a little bigger with my body and with my voice. Make sense? And Lisa said she was on a webinar today that there was just way too much energy. So it's all about calibration, right? That's why there's a percentage on that. 5 to 10% higher is a calibration to your audience. Okay, so let's build on this. Your audience is more engaged, right? There's enough energy that you're giving them that they feel like something important is happening, but you still won't be holding their attention unless you do this, which is specific engagement techniques to their audience, to your audience. There are so many ways to go about this. One of my favorite ways that I've already done with you so far is called body pulling. Let me ask you a question and I'll show you this technique. How many of you live in San Francisco? Right, we can all see each other, so you can just raise your hand, or if I can't see you, you can raise your hand in the reactions, right? You can do a clap or a thumbs up or whatever. And how many of you live in the East Bay? Yeah, okay, great. So these are simple ways to engage everybody. You get to see and know each other. Another way to go about this is show me on your fingers, 1 to 10, 10 being absolute anxiety attack, panic attack, and 1 being throw me up and I'll do my TED Talk for you right now. How nervous you would be if you had to give a talk later tonight to a live audience. 1 to 10, how nervous would that make you? And if you don't have your hands up, you can put a number in the chat box. Okay, great, big range there. I can see everybody from something like 3 all the way up to 8. Great. So I'm asking those questions simply to show examples of engagement techniques, not really because I was wanting the answers right now. And then of course we can get really creative with engagement techniques with technology. That's one of the things I love about technology. I'm putting 2 links in the chat box that are links to articles about virtual engagement techniques. Feel free to check them out, help you brainstorm with those. There's lots of fun techniques. Some of them are really simple, sort of like the ones I did, and some of them are complex with technology things. And like I mentioned, Slack rooms that have you draw pictures and then you share the picture. It can get really complex. So whatever your situation is, you find the level that works for you and that would work for your topic as well. Even on just Zoom, as you can see, I can give you polls and quizzes, put things in the chat box, simple questions like true or false or yes or no, thumbs up and applause. And beyond that, getting the audience speaking, hearing your voices, partner shares and those breakout groups. All of this maintains your audience's engagement and makes them feel like their presence is valuable to this time. It's not like you can check out, I see you and I'm gonna get you engaged, right? So you as a leader need to lead that and make that important to the audience. Audience engagement techniques, those are active things to put into your outlines and scripts so that you make sure to do them. And yet, there's one more piece of being able to be seen as a leader and as confident, especially on video. This is the same on the phone as well, like when you can't see somebody or when you have your video off, is that we have to somehow get the control at the beginning of the session and then maintain that authority throughout. What I've seen and heard from a lot of clients is they might be running a meeting and people are talking over them, or they might give somebody the microphone for a moment, they talk forever and ever, they go on. And it's only because those things only happen because the speaker, the leader, the facilitator didn't set up clear agreements at the beginning of the session. Clear agreements. The agreements would go in your introduction. Whatever your introduction is, how you introduce the time you're going to spend together, the agenda you have, maybe you tell a personal story, and you also need to include clear agreements in there. But there's a way to have agreements with an audience that really works and that allows you to maintain authority without having to work for it or scold people. And there's a way that makes you sound like you're just snapping a whip at people, and we don't want that. So I'm gonna send you guys, all of you that are here right now, that have stayed towards the end of the session, that are here live, I'm gonna send you a handout with a written template of how to make that agreement with your audience, what to say in your introductions that will get that agreement from them. If I don't already have your email from Eventbrite or Meetup, please send that to me in a personal chat box message right now. If I don't have your email, send that to me in a personal chat box message. As a general note here about setting agreements at the beginning, what's important is to lead with the value that you're going to provide your audience. It's not about like, hey, I don't want you to ask questions until the end. That's you and your fear of being interrupted. I can lead with the value to them. I'm going to give you so much great information today, and I know you're going to have really important questions come up, and yet we don't have time for everybody to ask questions in the middle. So I would really appreciate if you could leave your questions until the end. Does that sound good to you? This is an example of it, and there'll be more in the handout that I'm going to give you. But the way we get agreements, get people on board for what would actually serve them to get the most value out of the time. This will help you maintain authority, take control in the beginning, right? And maintain it effortlessly. Because once you set an agreement and everybody says yes, then if somebody breaks that agreement in the middle, everybody else looks at them and like, hey, she said to leave your video on. Why aren't you leaving your video on, right? For this session, that's what we did. So those are our 7 tools. We talked about a lot of stuff today that's going to help you with your virtual speaking. And I hope you got a lot of good value. Everything from remembering to never give a presentation that you wouldn't want to sit through. Gosh, that's so important to remember. And the way that you do that is through having really strong body language, having a strong voice that communicates confidence, trusting and using technology that you can handle, right, that builds your confidence, as well as, you know, knowing how to use those engagement strategies on your technology to trigger engagement on a regular basis with your audience. And yeah, Mark says, lead with value to them. Yes. And then we also talked about having higher energy and using that energy to lead and maintain authority throughout the session by setting clear agreements at the beginning. So I hope you got a lot of value out of this. And to be honest, I would be a really bad coach if I just left you with this, because I know that there's only so much we can get into, and that it's really personal how people grow around these things. You know, I've been teaching the Confidence on Stage program and my other programs for years and years now, and I see everyone come up against unique challenges. Our unique challenges with inner confidence, our blocks around being seen and heard, and our challenges around projecting more energy, you know, being bigger and bolder and always pulling people out. So I would like to invite you now to a very special offering that I created just for this unique moment in our world, right, in our history. And it's really something that I've never offered before like this. It's really amazing to me how accessible this offering is, you know, for the curriculum that I'm offering. So for those of you who know that you're playing small in some ways when the spotlight turns to you, if your body gets tight, you shut down, maybe go out of your body, disassociate a little bit. For those of you who know that you have something to say, right? There's a message that you want to share, but there's something that's making it hard to get it out there. I'd like to invite you to the Confidence on Stage program, which is a virtual group program, right? That's the world that we're in right now. And this is for you if you want to build confidence, of course, right? And specifically confidence online with video, being seen, being heard. And this is a 6-week online program based on my time-tested curriculum. In fact, some people here have even gone through that curriculum. This is something that I've had hundreds of professionals go through over the last few years. And I've seen how even in, you know, like the first 3 sessions, they start to shine. And speaking gigs start to drop in their lap because they're showing up as speakers. They're showing up as leaders by making these transitions and transformations. I'm going to write right now in the chat box a link to a page right now that you can get more information about this. So pull that up. You know, the Confidence on Stage curriculum is something that I've never offered for less than $2,000, never. In fact, I usually say the value of this curriculum is around $4,000. And really, it's something that's priceless because you have these skills for a lifetime, for your whole career. You come out of this course with a speaker's warm-up routine that will cover all of those 7 things that we worked on today. Something to prepare you to be at your best with your body, your voice, your mindset, and your energy every time from the beginning, from the moment the camera turns on. And I've really never offered this at this accessible rate. So I invite you to take a look at that link and take a look at registering for this program. I know that all of you would see a shift very quickly with these tools, and it doesn't have to be that hard to make a shift. Somebody's back here again. And I want to make it accessible at this crazy time, at this, you know, on a wider scale to more of you. So this program, whoops, I didn't send the link. Thank you. It only went to Lisa. Everyone in the meeting, here we go. There's the link. Please go to the link. What I've decided is that this program, it's such a great deal for the curriculum that like I said, I have people go through over longer periods of time and for a lot more investment. But I'm going to offer it for this rate only until Monday night. So that's 3 days from now, and only for 10 people, so that we can have a really tight-knit group of people to learn with. You know, this was a lot of people to handle here today. I wouldn't be able to get everybody's voice on camera to speak and give them laser coaching. But with 10 people, we can get you on and do laser coaching with you, and it gets personalized feedback and personalize or individualize the curriculum to this new virtual world and your virtual scenarios. So if you want to learn more about this, go to that link, sign up before Monday. And if you want to talk more about this, if there's questions, or maybe you want more personalized coaching that's more one-on-one to grow as a speaker, this is the perfect time to invest in personal and professional development. We have the time, a lot of us, and it's the time to come out of this with this new voice, this new powerful voice. I believe that all of you have a powerful voice and the world needs your voice. So I'm going to put a link now in the chat box, another last link that's a link to talk more for you and I. If you'd like to talk more about how this might be a fit for you, if you have any questions about how this might work for you, and if you want to have more information about this program or other programs, that link is there for you for us to talk more. And as people are looking at those, I just saw them from Gary. As people are looking at those, I'm curious, what were your biggest takeaways from today? What were the things that stood out for you? You can type it in the chat box, or you can raise your hand and speak it. I'm going to put that link in again. Gary, go ahead.
I just liked how methodical you are about those different things, the voice and the fillers and the, the tone. Just very helpful pointers. Thank you.
Thank you, Gary. Josephine, you had something.
The engagement techniques and with the added link that I will look up later. Thank you.
Good, great. Other takeaways? Sheila Merrill.
Helpful for me was the 5 to 10% increase in energy compared to your audience. I didn't know that, so thank you for that.
Awesome, thank you, Shannon.
I thought I think for me, all the body use, and even getting very specific about what gestures communicate your message.
Yeah, your body communicates your message.
Yeah, so it isn't just a bunch of hand waving. But that was really
yeah.
And I also thought about how facial tics or body tics could really detract from the message.
Absolutely, all those little details. Yeah. Thank you,
Thanks.
Sheila Merrill. Other takeaways? What were your biggest takeaways? Curious from people I haven't heard from specifically yet. Like Antoinette, I haven't heard your voice in the conversation. Any takeaways from today?
The camera angle is the most useful for me.
Thank you for sharing. Mariah, I haven't heard from you. Oh, she's disconnected.
I love your 10% bigger energy rule.
Cool, thank you. Linda, I'm curious, I haven't heard your voice, but I saw your shining smile throughout this.
Yeah. Oh, awesome. The body posture and also the positioning in the camera. I was just like, yeah, that makes sense. Like not leaning forward all the time.
Yeah.
I was really trying to practice doing it. So yeah, that was helpful. Thank you.
Thank you, Linda. Okay. All right. Well, thank you all for staying all the way to the end with me. I'm sure there's lots more takeaways, and I'd love to talk with you more and support with you more. So I'm going to put that link one more time in here so it's easy to get to. Thank you for all the notes that you're putting into the chat as well. I'm going to read those when we're done here, and I hope you got a lot of value. I'll talk with you in a session, whether it's a phone call or further into the group program. I wish you all the best. Share your voice with the world. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.